Hello, everyone. I am here with Julie Broad, the Book Broad, and I am so honored to have you on. I have been watching your Book Launchers YouTube channel for a while, and I thought you have so much wisdom that you could share with my people. So, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, I know that we are going to be talking about your most recent book, Self Publish and Succeed. But I wanted to start by hearing a little bit more about you and how you came to be in this book space.
Well, I mean, as a kid, I actually thought I'd be a writer, but then somewhere along the line, somebody told me writers don't make money and, I'd be poor. So I did. And then my English teacher in grade 10 gave me really bad marks. So I figured, well, better scrap that plan. And I went to business school instead. But it was actually, inadvertently real estate got me into books because I was investing in real estate and I started a newsletter which grew organically. Like I didn't have a web page or anything. People just, got forwarded the email and said, add me to your list. And it got me back to writing, right? Like writing this little newsletter about investing got me back to writing. And I eventually started a company, a training and education company around real estate, and built a bit of a profile. And then I got approached by some publishers. And all of a sudden, this little girl who thought she would be a writer was like, oh my God, I might be a writer. And then Wiley, one of the major publishing houses, they were talking to me, and they said, we're interested in working with you. And I said, great, I've got this idea. And they said, no, not that idea, no. They said, but we like you, so here's a book idea. Go create a proposal. So I mean, here they are giving me a proposal. I'll spare you the details. The end is that after 3 months of working on the proposal together, they rejected me. So, which was really, truly the greatest gift. At the time, it felt horrible because I had friends who got book deals. I didn't understand why I didn't get one. And, but it forced me to go back to the idea they said no to and to self-publish. And it's just one of those things where I was like, great, I have to self-publish, but now I'm going to write the book that I really felt needed to be written. And also I had vengeance. I was like, Wiley, you're not going to publish my book. I'm going to do it better. And so I dove into everything self-publishing and marketing and learned how to do it. And I ended up taking that book to #1 on Amazon, not #1 in a category, #1 in print books, ahead of Dan Brown, ahead of Game of Thrones, in the top 100 print books for 45 days. Still to this day, 10 years later, it is still selling. I still get emails from people. I still get people writing me on Instagram. Can you be my real estate coach? And I'm like, that ship sailed, my friend. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't a direct route from that book to this company, but it really started to birth the ideas. It brought me back to that little girl inside that was all about books. And I just created a company that I would have wanted to hire to help me with my nonfiction journey.
Yeah, it's funny how it comes back around like that. And thank goodness for self-publishing, because you as an author, I think what's on your heart that needs what the audience needs, what your audience needs. And so, yeah, to be able to say, no, this is the book that needs to be out in the marketplace and then create it is so powerful. I love that we can do that now.
And make more money. Like, I mean, that's the funny part is, I made so much more money than if I had gotten the publishing deal. So, I got to actually choose the content and I got to make way more money with it.
And I think it may have been true when we were young that making money as an author was extraordinarily challenging. That was before the internet was really what it is. It was before Amazon, before Kindle. So now it's like, oh, actually, there is a path to making a living as an artist, as an author.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how did you learn how to do what you did with that book to take it to #1 in print as for the overall Amazon store? That's incredible. So did somebody teach you how to do that?
No, I mean, this was 2011, 2012. Self-publishing was not, there was one book called Ape, author, publisher, entrepreneur. I think it was not Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary, I can't think of his name right now, but that was the only book that I found on this whole thing. But there was lots of little pieces out there. So I grabbed those pieces. But I also had been a student of direct response marketing for a long time. You know, with my education and training company, I started studying copywriting in 2009, I think. And I had taken all the courses and gone to all the events. So I think that just understanding what creates action, how to get people to take action and buy something. I also had a great network. I mean, that's a big part of it, is that it wasn't just, you know, magical book marketing. It was that I had relationships with people and I'd never asked them for anything. You know, I'd built relationships. I'd been giving people support in all kinds of ways. And then here I was with a book asking for help. And the book also had a message people wanted to support, which was, real estate can help you make money, but like the message out there was, you know, get rich with real estate. And mine was kind of counterpoint of, hey, real estate, you're going to have problems. Like every real estate deal you do is going to create problems. So choose your problems. And maybe real estate isn't even right for you, right? It was a really different angle on a very commonly talked about subject. And that made realtors and mortgage brokers want to support it. And that's why my book went to #1.
Oh, that's really smart. Yeah. Coming at it from a different angle, that's great, because there's so much hype about like, oh, it's so easy, you just invest in real estate, the end.
And I talk about this all the time with you know, on BookLaunchers.tv, the YouTube channel, but also just with our clients. Like your book, you're probably writing something somebody's already written about, right? It's probably not a new topic. However, there is something you do or something that is commonly held belief in your industry or in your area that you actually don't agree with. And that's where you want to lean into. Like, what is that different lens, whether it's something you've experienced in the past or just a belief, like, you know, people believed real estate was passive income and I ran hard against that. Like, it is not passive. And if you do, you end up with property managers who rob rent money from you, which happened to me. And so I think if you have that thing you can lean into, it will create that whole experience around your book that will get people talking about it and wanting to support it.
And I think you have something similar too with this most recent book, Self-Publish and Succeed, where you have your motto of no boring books. And a lot of people, when putting out their nonfiction book to support their business, they speak too much about just themselves. They don't consider what it's doing for the reader. Who is going to want this book? What is it going to do for them? And that was something that stuck out to me when I was reading it, for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because a lot of people were talking about business card books or get a book in 30 days or in 90 days. And I was like, yes, you can do it. Just like you can buy property and think it's passive income and then experience the downfalls of it later. And I've met so many people who aren't proud of their book. A few years later, they're like, oh, that was just my trial, my tester book, or that was just my business card. Now I want to write a real book. And I'm a reader at heart. So when somebody says, oh, that was just my throwaway book or anything like that, my heart breaks inside. But really, if you do want this book to grow your business and be a business card that's, still around 10 years later, I'm still proud of that book I put out 10 years ago. I'm still happy when somebody says, I just read it. I'm just like, awesome. Versus some people are like, oh, really? You read my book? Like, and so if you want it to grow your business, it has to be something people want to read, because if they're not reading it, they're not telling other people about it. And it's not going to have the long tail marketing effect that you're hoping for.
Yeah, definitely. So when you're working with people in your book launchers business, are you looking for people who haven't written a book yet, or they have a manuscript and they don't know what to do with it? Like, what does it look like for you to support people in their launches?
Yeah, we work with people at all phases. So you can come to us with an idea. You can come to us with a first draft. The further along you get, so if you come to us with a book that's fully edited and has a cover, the more likely we are to turn you away. And it's not because we're mean. It's because there's a lot of things you really need to do to set your book up for really strong marketing success and to achieve your goals. And that really does start the moment you think you're going to write a book. And a lot of people have missed the mark. It doesn't mean their book is bad. bad, but they've missed their mark in terms of setting their book up to achieve the goals that they want to achieve with their book. And for us, we're not the most expensive company, but we're also not, something that people would call throwaway cash or cheap. And so as a result, I want to make sure you're going to get a return on your investment. And so that means your book has to be positioned to set it up for the best chance of success, because there is no guarantee in book marketing or PR or anything like that. And so yes, you can come to us at any phase, but the earlier in the process, the more likely we are to work with you, and the more likely your book is to be set up for that success, whether it's your brand building, book sales, consulting, whatever it is.
That's a really great point. I think that we would assume like, oh, I've got my book and my cover and my editing, so there's less work to be done. You're going to love that. And yet, like you said, you want to be involved from the very start, because if you have to pull that book apart to put in what needs to be in there to make it successful, that's a ton of work.
Yeah. And it's more emotional, right? That's the other piece, is it's emotionally exhausting for the author to get the book further down the line. You feel like you're closer to being done. And then somebody comes along and reads it and says, you don't have a clear reader. Like, your book reads well, but you don't have a clear reader, so we don't have somebody to market it to. And those things, it requires major surgery to actually fix, and people are emotionally exhausted by the time their book is done most of the time, and the thought of going back is like, oh, forget it, just market it the way it is. So yes, you can go market it the way it is, but we won't be the ones that do it.
You've got a reputation to uphold, so yeah, that makes sense. So with the hashtag no boring books, what was the inspiration? When did that become part of your philosophy?
I mean, it came out of the YouTube channel, like the actual hashtag no boring books, but the whole philosophy of it was something that I wrote my first book with, More Than Cash Flow, that real estate book I mentioned, was because I had read probably 65 real estate books, and they were boring. I read them because I was an investor and I love to learn. Like, when I find a topic I want to go deep on and become a master at, I read everything I possibly can and watch all the videos, etc. And the books were boring. And I thought there needs to be a book people actually want to read, because I had great stories. I mean, I had a property manager that got charged with manslaughter. Not a great story as in like woohoo, but a great story as in there's drama, but nobody else would manage the property. So we had to keep working with him while he was on house arrest. And we had to write letters to be, so lots of great stories. And I thought, why aren't people telling these stories that are going to make somebody want to keep reading and turn the page and tell other people about, oh my gosh, I just read this book, and she had, tenants that pulled knives on each other, and a property manager that got robbed, or a property manager that got charged with manslaughter. And so that was my heart, like the heart of my philosophy was make it a book people want to read. And we all have great stories. Like, you're a human, so you've got stories. And so bringing those stories in and then writing in a simpler manner. Because the other thing I found was people wanted to sound smart, or maybe that's just how they talk, but nobody wants to read something that is, even a grade 8 level is exhausting to read sometimes. So write simply, write in a way that makes it easy for people to consume your content. This is like, obviously I'm passionate, but I can go on and on.
Unfortunately, we're getting some weird feedback noise today, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. It's coming and going, but try to ignore it.
I hope it's not me. I'm sorry if it is. My headphones have been causing me grief today.
Wow, we have some weird technical difficulties. A bit of feedback. Okay. Hopefully it's all right. So let's see. What else did I want to ask you? See, I don't prepare for these things at all. I'm just like, gonna go with the flow, ask questions as they come to me. So what is something that you think people need to know about creating a book that will help their business? What's like the first thing people really need to understand?
Who they're writing it for, and making that very, very specific. And a lot of people assume I'm talking demographics, but demographics are more like the last thing I think about. When I think about who I'm writing it for, I'm really thinking who has a problem and what is, because we're talking nonfiction here. Fiction's different. I think you still have to know who your reader is when you're writing fiction, but like, who has a problem I'm going to solve, and how am I going to solve it in a way that is slightly different, and also understanding why the problem matters. So the example I often give is let's say your book will talk about how to regrow hair. And you might think any bald man is going to be my target market for this. But the reality is, there's people like my dad who's been bald since he was 30. He does not care. But there's other people, and I have one friend who flew halfway across the world to get his hair plugs put in and make his head look better because he thought it would lead to better dates, right? Better quality dates. He thought he would look better. So it's not just knowing I will help you grow your hair. It's why does that matter to your specific person? And the person who cares about the dates is a different person that also thinks their hair is going to lead to more sales or more career opportunities. So understanding your person so well that you can speak to that outcome of the outcome is really, really important. And before you start writing, you really have to know that. And if you think, my book's about taking care of your heart, and everyone has a heart, so everyone is my audience. You don't have the budget of Coca-Cola, and even if you did, Coca-Cola doesn't market to everybody. I will never drink Coke. I care way too much about my health to ever drink Coca-Cola. So you're not, all the money in the world spent on marketing your product isn't going to get me to consume it. So you have to get more specific. And so if you're thinking of heart, it's heart health. Well, who cares about that? Probably somebody just diagnosed with some sort of a heart disease. Or somebody who has a family member and it's genetic and they're scared about that. So know who that is and why they care about it so you can speak directly to it. And you'll still sell to people who don't fall exactly in that line, but at least you've got somebody to sell to. You can drink it, totally fine. It's not, that was not a criticism of anyone who drinks Coca-Cola. I drink an obscene amount of coffee. So
I drink neither. I watch those Coke ads and I think, a nice glass of cold water would be really refreshing right now. Yeah, that is very true. Like, before you put so much time and effort and money and energy into writing a whole book, like, really know who's going to benefit and why. I like what you said about the outcome of the outcome. It's not just the outcome of having hair. It's what is that going to do for you?
Exactly.
It's emotional. It's not just the physical or the surface level. Yeah, very cool. So we have in the description links for your book and for BookLaunchers and your personal website as well. Is there anything else that you would like to share, or a final piece of advice for people?
I mean, ultimately, the missing piece is always action. That's been my philosophy forever. So your book will never have an impact on your life or anyone else's life if you don't write it and then get it out into the world. So, that's the piece. And if there's some way we can help you, please reach out. We also have a download that I don't know if that's in the links, but it's the 7 steps to write a book that is set up to sell. And it goes through the reader, this outcome of the outcome, all of those pieces. And it's a workbook. So you can get it at BookLaunchers.com. Or /7 steps. So 7 steps, and you can get that download, and that'll also get our email as well. Like, you'll get my email, so you can just hit reply and ask any questions.
Fantastic. That is wonderful. Well, thank you again for coming and spending this time with me today. I really appreciate having you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Any questions, Andy, since you're the one who's here watching? Give you a moment to see if you have any actual questions. It sounds like he's already a big fan of yours, so he probably knows everything that you have to say on these subjects. All right, well, I will wrap it up there then.